your summary sheet, this sheet right here, let me show it to you. Nope, that's the wrong one. Okay, if you just, whenever they give you the name of the quadrilateral or tell you which shape to use, if you get in a habit of marking it like you see, it'll help you get to your answers a whole lot faster. There'll probably be less work to do if you can memorize what the type of markings go to each shape. Okay, so like the first one you have on your sheet, I believe is a rectangle. Okay, all right, so here the rectangles, the diagonals bisect each other, and the opposite sides are congruent. So we're going to just start off with that. So if I go to number 1, I'm going to do my tick marks because the diagonals bisect each other. 2 tick marks for left and right, opposite sides are congruent. 3 for top and bottom. Okay, and then it's a rectangle, so we do know that it's a right angle in there. You should know that's the definition of rectangles, a special quadrilateral with 4 right angles. Now, if I know that, I can just go here. It says OS is 16. So if I label that 16, it has 1 tick mark. Everything that has 1 tick mark is also going to be 16. So OQ, 1 tick mark, 16. To find the measure of QRS, so QRS is 90 degrees. And then PR, that's the whole diagonal, 32. We just double our tick marks, 16 and 16. So like on the next one, they're talking about a square. So if I just get my markings, remember, kind of memorize the markings, use your summary sheet, it's easier to see the relationship. So again, the diagonals bisect each other. What else happens in a square? 90 and 45. So we're going to put the 45s in there. And we have a 90 for our diagonals. They're perpendicular. 45, 45, 45. And then all sides are congruent. So I put 2 tick marks there. Okay. So NM is 8. I'm going to put the 8 where those 2 tick marks are. They want us to find the measure of OKL. So if I just go AOK to L, that's going to be 45. Then MOL, that would just be 90. And your perimeter, what is that perimeter? What does that mean? Yeah, all the sides on the outside. So this was going to be 8, 8, 8, yep, 32. Yes. All right, rhombus. So what's our markings for our rhombus? Yeah, we have the 90-degree for the perpendicular diagonals. The diagonals bisect each other, but they're not congruent, so they have 2 different tick marks. But then all sides are congruent. And the special thing for a rhombus is we have diagonals that bisect, that should be 2 arcs, sorry, the angles. And then it'll be 1 arc. So we have obtuse and we have acute, obtuse and acute, and they get bisected. Both pairs are bisected. So they tell us that AD right here is 11, so I'm just going to put 11 on the outside. That's my 3 tick marks. DO is 6. That's my 1 tick mark. They want us to find OB. Well, it's 6. And then BC, well, I see it's opposite 11. Has the same tick marking, so that's 3. That's 11. And then the angle, the measure of angle AOD, 90. And we're done. All right, so let's just see if you can recognize the type of markings that would go with each shape. You can use your summary sheet to help you. But on this first one, they want us to match all terms that fit. Okay, so there's more than one answer. Diagonals bisect each other. For what shape is that true? Diagonals bisect each other. Parallelogram, C. What else? Rhombus, D. Square, G. Rectangle, F. There it is. Diagonals bisect each other for all those 4 shapes. Diagonals are perpendicular. Rhombus, D. Square, G. There's one more. No, not rectangle. If you look at your... Looking for a box, looking for a box, looking for a box, looking for a box, looking for a box. The kite, okay? The kite. Diagonals are perpendicular. Alright, so we gotta add that kite. E. Alright, so diagonals are congruent. Square and rectangle. G and our F. F and G. The measures of the interior angle sum is 360. Sum is 360. Yeah, all of them. All quadrilaterals have a sum of 360. So that's H. Opposite sides are congruent. Opposite sides are congruent. Parallelogram, rectangle, square, rhombus. So back to our original four. Opposite sides, or I mean opposite angles are congruent. Parallelogram, rhombus, square. Only one pair for a kite. Yeah. And parallelogram and rectangle. Okay. On D, both diagonals bisect angles. Rhombus, that's true. There's one more. Both diagonals bisect angles. Square, yes. G. Diagonals are perpendicular bisectors of each other. Square and the rhombus. Yep. There we go. Okay. Oops. Anyone still need that? Last one. Oops. Okay, so start off with basically state the property that you can use to problem solve, show your work when necessary, and when algebra is applied. So we need the equation when you need to. Start off by labeling what's given. We have a parallelogram. Angle A is 40. Okay, so that means we have to deal with the properties of angles with the parallelogram. So what's some properties dealing with the angles of a parallelogram? Opposite angles are congruent, or you can say consecutive angles are supplementary. All right, so I can start with my opposite. Opposite of A, S. So that's also 40. Done. Then how am I going to get to J and M? Okay, not 360. Subtract from 180. Consecutive. S and J are consecutive? Oh, for the total. Okay. Divide by 2. Yeah, you could do that. So we're going to have 140 and 140. And we're done. All right, so now we're dealing with the rectangle. So if I see they give us a rectangle, start off with go ahead and diagonals bisect each other. Okay? We have to have a right angle in there for it to be a rectangle. And then our opposite sides are congruent. Okay? AN is 5. So we're going to go ahead and label that. NR is x minus 3. I'm going to go ahead and label that one. Right now I can see right there that we have diagonals bisect each other. So I should be able to use that to set up the equation. What would our equation be? X minus 3 equals 5. We're done right there. X, they have the same tick mark. Thank you. Yep, we're done. 8. So what is NR? 5, no math needed. There we go. And 10, no math needed. There we go. Done. What is what? All right, we have a parallelogram. Okay? So, the diagonals bisect each other, but they're not congruent. Okay? So we have the 12, YB is 13. I should have done it. Okay. 12, YB is 13. And then the angle YKE, that's this whole thing, is 50. It is a parallelogram. So now that I have my markings, and I can use that relationship to find KYL. What would the measure of KYL be? If I'm going to K to Y to L over here. Yeah, 130. Okay? Remember, if I'm dealing with angles, consecutive angles equal 180. So if I do 180 minus 50, we get 130. Now, if I have my other markings, I'm going to use that to find EK. What would EK be? It's also 12. It's opposite YL, so it's 12. And then EY, yep, 26. Done. All right, square. What happens to a square? What markings can I put? Tick marks on our diagonals. 90 in the center, the perpendicular, and in the corner. Once I show it for one, I show it for all. And then all sides are congruent. What happens to these angles in here? What's every angle we see? 45. All right, make sure you use that. Help you problem solve. The diagonals bisect opposite angles. All right, so the measure of ER is 5. I'm going to go ahead and label that. And this is the measure of angle EJM, which is over here, and I'm going to draw an arrow to it, is the 3x minus 9. They want us to find the measure of x. What's our setup? What can we do? Yeah, 3x minus 9 equals 90. Okay, because it's pointing to that right angle. That means x is going to be 11. Yeah, you didn't divide. It's 33. And then JM, real easy. Yeah, done. And then 90, done. Okay. All right, so on this next page, we're going to, this is a decimal answer. It's a parallelogram. We know that IK, this whole diagonal, is 35. But the arrow is only pointing to the part that's being bisected, or the whole diagonal is being bisected. So we're just looking at the bisected part. So, because diagonals bisect each other, then I'm going to write my equation as 4x plus 3. Is it just going to be plus 3? What do I have to do to that 4x plus 3? Double it, yes. Multiply it by 2, and then it can equal to 35. Yep. Because it takes 2 of them to make the whole. You get a fraction or a decimal answer for this one. You can round to the nearest tenth. Because you get 8x plus 6 equals 35. Got 3 points. Is it 3 or 2? Is it 6-2? 625? Okay, yeah, that's right. All right, now, I need to kind of, we got to do this one together because there's two. I need you to see there's two shapes. I'm going to highlight them. So ABFE, I'm going to do that one. This right here is the rhombus, okay? That shape is overlapping or kind of intertwined with our rectangle, okay? So if I'm looking at my rhombus, in the rhombus, the diagonals are perpendicular, they bisect each other, and all sides are congruent. Now, they also bisect the angles, but everything we're dealing with this one is with the segments, the sides, because they want us to figure out the perimeter. So I'm going to start off. They tell me, and then for the rectangle, sorry, again, the diagonals bisect each other. I already got 3 tick marks, so it's 3 here. And then the sides, opposite sides, are going to be congruent. I'm going to put 4, and I'm going to put, did I use 2? Yeah, so I got to do 5. All right, so EC, this whole diagonal, I'm going to do it in red. If this whole thing is 10, oh, it's not going to let me do it in red. Then what is each part? 5. Okay, so that tells me the sides of the rhombus are also 5. Okay, because it's the same marking. Are y'all with me on that part? Then ED is right here. That's 6, so it's 6 over here as well. AF, that's the whole diagonal inside the rhombus. If that's 6, then what is each one tick mark? 3. Okay, do y'all see that there's right triangles in here? We need to find, yeah, we can find the length of the diagonal in the rhombus. Then I also have the side of the rectangle. So try to see how we're going to get to this length here. If I have a right triangle. It's not going to let me write. How do we get to this length? I'm going to see if I can restart this. How can we get to the length of EB using the right triangle? Because we need EB to get to the perimeter. Yeah, it is bisected. So if I'm going to trace this, guys. Yeah, look, stay in the rhombus. These triangles inside of here, what are they? Right triangles. Okay, so here's the right triangle. I'm just going to look at one. It's 3, it's 5. We are missing that leg of the right triangle, which I know which is part of EB. So how can I get to that leg of the right triangle? Pythagorean Theorem. Basically, this is like your B. So 3 squared plus B squared equals 5 squared. So we're going to have to kind of work backwards to get to the B. We have 9 plus B squared equals 25. B squared is 16. B is 4. Okay? So that means that I have 4 and 4. So now what is this length of 8? And now we can get to our perimeter. Because our perimeter is adding up all the outsides. Yes. Okay. Yeah, just a little challenging.